Friday, August 14th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. That's our normal time, Monday through Friday here on Wager Talk TV. I'm your host, Steve Merrill, and I'm joined by Dave Koken and Teddy Covers, both from Las Vegas, Nevada. And we're going to take a nice look at each and every baseball game on the card for Friday. Just a quick reminder that we're back with bonus episodes this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, first pitch, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, a little bit earlier on the weekends because we have a lot of daytime action, especially on that Sunday card. It's just a great time to watch us live here on Wager Talk TV to get ready for the weekend action. So once again, we'll be back Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific the next 2 days. But this is Friday, our normal time, 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, live here on Wager Talk TV. I'm going to dive right in, guys. First, Dave, let me bring you in. How did you do yesterday on Thursday? What were your thoughts overall on the baseball card?
No, I played one baseball game and got just absolutely destroyed. If you're going to lose, you may as well lose big, right? I had the first 5 under in the Pirates-Reds game, and I think they're still scoring runs in that game. So that one didn't go well, but then won a KBO play this morning. So and it's been good. I've got no complaints. I have 2 games I'm involved in today. One of them is a best bet, and you can get that right now at wagertalk.com for $25. The other one is for people who are on for my package. You get everything that I play in the package. You get up as soon as I posted it, automatically gets sent to you. And I'll have another baseball game there, plus a couple of hockey games. There's a free play on an NHL game as well.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, the subscriptions are a great way to go because you get each and every play. Teddy, I know that you're a huge proponent of buying direct subscriptions and not the daily plays. So not only does it save you money, but it builds your bankroll as well. Teddy, what were your thoughts overall on the Thursday action in baseball?
So, I mean, I had a good day yesterday overall. I'm kicking myself for not playing Tampa to sweep up that series against the Red Sox. It looked too easy, and it was too easy, and I was annoyed with myself for it not making my card. But the current form is very good. I'm 13-3 across all sports now over the last 8 days. So we'll see if we can keep it rolling into the weekend. I have one play available for tonight in MLB, a high-scoring slugfest that I think is going to fly over the total. So just one play available for the clients this evening in MLB.
You know, it's funny. Fans are hilarious. They're a different breed than we are. Completely different breed. I'm a member of a Jerry Remy fan group on Facebook. Jerry Remy, of course, former player, very, very popular broadcaster with the team. So there's fans on there. They're just going wild right now about the Red Sox. They're just, the Renicky thing he needs to be fired. He's been there for like 20 games. Okay. They're just tearing things apart. And it's like, that's the beauty of being a fan, is you can be completely ignorant to everything that's going on. The Red Sox never had a chance this season. I don't care if they played 162 games or 8 games. They're a bad baseball team. They got no pitching, and they're almost tanking at this point. I don't know how anybody can't see it. But, boy, fans are a different breed than we are. Teddy, do you find that it's tough to connect with fans sometimes because they just look at things completely differently from anything we do?
I don't pay any attention to the fan boards, to the fan sites, to people ask me, who are you a fan of? I'm like, well, let's see. The last time I was a fan of anybody, I can tell you, the last team that I loved was the Fab Five in Ann Arbor in the early 90s. And the last time, from Michigan, the last time I remember really rooting for Michigan was when they were going to win the national title in 98. It's like once you move to Vegas and you're like, I'm betting, the fan thing, it's not only over my head, I'm over it. There's no, even if you're the biggest Red Sox fan in the world, guess what?
I know.
The World Series and the Red Sox are laying too big of a price, you're going to take the other side. It's just the way the betting works. So if you're a fan, good luck. I'm not a fan. I'm a bettor.
Yeah, and I've always said, guys, my favorite team changes on a daily basis. Yep. Like Teddy said, it's every 3 hours. And I grew up in the Northern Virginia area, D.C. area, so I was a huge Redskin fan in the 80s and 90s. That was a pretty good run. It's been very easy for me not to be a Redskin fan for the last 20 years. And I disowned my Capitals.
Washington football team.
That's right. Washington football
I'm
team.
politically incorrect still, and I'm wearing the
But
red.
it's not there. They're not the Redskins anymore. They're the
that's
Washington
right.
football team until proven otherwise.
But when I acknowledged them, they were still the Redskins because I gave up on them a long time ago.
I will admit, though, when I'm not in action, I still root. I root for the Golden Knights. I still root for my Red Sox when I'm not in action. But once the betting takes over, there's no loyalty whatsoever. I'm a bad fan.
So I grew up in New York, and I was Mets, Jets, Knicks, and Rangers. No titles, all terrible teams the entire time I was growing up. It was easy to leave those teams. Easy, I'm telling you.
Yeah, no question about it. And by the way, speaking of favorites, we got Tony Finn with us. Oh, another Vegas connection. We got 3 Vegas guys and 1 East Coast guy here today, so I'll keep you all in line.
I apologize. So I walked into the NBA studio, not the MLB studio.
No, you actually weren't scheduled, but that's okay.
Oh, I must have been wrong.
Not a problem.
We're glad to have you anyway.
He's been ready actually for a few minutes. I just kept him in the
Okay, I'll see you guys later.
So Tony, how'd you do on Thursday? Any thoughts of baseball?
I had one play. I had a late play on the Dodgers and Urias, albeit a little bit juicy. I went ahead and played the money line on that and was successful. And I had one NBA play. I believe it was the same play as Teddy, and was successful with that as well.
So, guys, we'll dive right in. We got 3 featured games as we normally do, and then we're going to do some quick hits and run through everything on the board. A lot of night games here, so we got a lot to cover. First, remind the viewers out there, wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com. Free plays and best bets available there each and every day, including right now for Friday. Wagertalk.com, sportsmemo.com. Let's look at our first featured game on the evening card. We've got the Braves right now as a slight favorite over the Marlins. Right, $1.10 favorite over Lopez. Total is 9 to the under. Dave, what are your thoughts on this one?
I made 119 was the number I came up with on Atlanta. The book's still very much open on Kyle Wright. He does have good stuff, and I think he's going to be a pretty good pitcher. But there are some underlying stats that aren't real good, and I think it's a question of maturity more than anything else. Lopez is a guy I've talked about frequently. I think this kid's got a chance to be a really good pitcher for the Marlins. Maybe the guy who becomes their number 1 down the road. And he's had flashes of brilliance last year and already this season. Tough game, and one you definitely want to check the lineups in this game. They might be out already. I have not gotten a chance to check them since we started doing this, and I was busy with something before the show. But Atlanta, of course, Acuna a little dinged up. Albies dinged up. You want to check and see who's in that lineup, because if they're short 2 key guys, that might be a signal to take a little bit of value on the other team.
Yeah, and Teddy, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I saw Atlanta open around about minus 128, and now it's about minus 110. So the line has dropped in favor of the Marlins as the home dog. Any thoughts on the lineup there?
Yeah, I mean, Acuna looks like he's out for the weekend.
Yeah, I think so.
For Atlanta, at least that's how he's being listed. And it's not like the Braves are in good current form. They've lost 3 in a row. Their starting pitching hasn't been able to get outs, and equally or more concerning, their bullpen hasn't been able to get outs. So it's a road favorite, not in good form, with some potential pitching struggles. They're not healthy, and they're facing a team. Look, I mean, Miami, they are what they are, but they were also capable of blowing an 8-0 lead and still rallying to win the game. And they have been playing. It's a home opener for Miami this late in the season, which is something of a boost. I can understand the Marlins' money. I don't want to lay a price with Wright and the Braves on the highway.
Interesting thing, by the way, is that there will be about as many fans there for the Marlins home opener as there would be if there actually were fans allowed.
As there were last year, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tony, how much do you factor in the fact it is their first technical home game, I guess, of the season?
Not much. I mean, I wish I knew. I have a lot of questions about that. I have a lot of questions about ball flight. Has a full stadium effect? All those things that people have tried to explain to me that I just didn't listen to because I'm afraid to. I'm afraid I might learn something. Listen, if you look at this game, what Teddy and Dave said, accurate. The pitching, I think the kid for Atlanta's come up a little early. He's got his upside's large.
Yep.
Got potential. He's still not there yet. He's learning on the job. Look at what Atlanta has done in small sample. Look at what Atlanta's done against right-handed pitching versus left-handed. It's dead last against left-handed pitching OPS. Top of the league against right-handed. If you think that's important with the small sample size, maybe look forward in the future if they're facing left-hander. Maybe they're a fade. I like both. I like both teams here. I didn't play it, but I like the over. Actually, is what I really liked here. I stayed away from it because I have too many questions about this Miami pitcher and this young kid. As soon as I bet the over, guys, he'll step up and have his best performance of his career.
I want to say one thing here, and this is something I am starting to incorporate into current MLB handicapping, is we are starting to see some effect of the 60-game schedule. Mm-hmm. Teams like the Braves, who kind of assume they're going to be in the playoffs, are not feeling a sense of urgency. Teams like the Marlins and the Orioles and a couple of others, the Tigers you can suggest, are thinking, we actually have a chance here. And they're playing really hard almost every game. And that is something that despite the fact that they don't have rosters that indicate that they are playoff caliber, and clearly teams like Detroit and actually Miami, for that matter, are not, and certainly Baltimore. But they're playing over their heads right now, and I think a part of it, guys, is the fact that they realistically think they can make the playoffs in a short schedule. I don't think you'd see this level of enthusiasm in a full 162-game slate. So that's something to factor into your daily analysis, at least for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, another intangible, too, is if they go to this, win percentage format down the stretch with all these games missed, a team like Miami got up to, I believe, a 7-2 start. They're 8-4 now. They've played 12 games. The Braves have played 20 games. Yet they have 3 more wins, even though their win percentage isn't as strong. So it's going to be a real interesting situation with all those games missed. And if, it should allow a bad team like Miami to stay in the mix longer as well.
It's crazy, though, because the Cardinals are 2-3. So if they win 2 games tomorrow, if they happen to win the doubleheader and go to 4-3, then they're in the playoffs. They're going to have to do something about that. They can't just go and win percentage.
Yeah, and obviously you have to have a minimum. It's like any, statistical record, batting average or anything. You have a minimum, but the problem is I don't think they've set it yet. And, I don't like this making the rules on the fly stuff.
Rob Manfred, he's terrible. He is. He's just terrible. I would suggest he's so bad that he's the only person, after Major League Baseball dumps him, which they're going to do, he's really the only person to be in charge of the NCAA. He's perfectly suited for a job that we know nobody can handle.
Well, I'll say this: he's no Roger Goodell.
No, he sure isn't, though. But that's the Goodell. Goodell might do things to piss people off, but he's a really good commissioner. He really is. I mean, you can hate him all you want, but he runs that league, and he is decisive. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he thinks he's king, and I think he is king. I think damn certain. Yeah,
I think the owners definitely get what they want with Goodell, which is probably why he's got good job security on his end. You guys will look at the next game here on the board. Let's take a look at the Brewers Cubs. Another road favorite here, another small road favorite. Woodruff minus $1.15, Dave, at Chicago against Chatwood.
Yeah, it's a weird line because, and I grant you, Woodruff's the better pitcher, and Chatwood. The clock struck midnight and he turned back into a pumpkin last start. But the Cubs are playing such good ball and the Brewers aren't. And you look at this and say, how can the Brewers be a favorite? And it's one of those games, and believe me, this is not the way I handicap, but it is something that I kind of look at, the fishy line thing. I have a tendency to avoid games like this. Why are the Brewers favored? It just can't be. You can't be favored just because Brandon Woodruff is out there. And my numbers certainly suggest that Woodruff ought to be the favorite if you're just looking at pitching. But when you factor in everything else, man, it's tough to make a case for the Brewers. I will say this: the Cubs bullpen is still atrocious, and the likelihood is they will probably pitch maybe 4 or 5 innings tonight with Chatwood on the mound. So maybe this is the game where that line is the tell, and that the Brewers are the right side.
Yeah, and Teddy, speaking of that bullpen, the Cubs bullpen has a 6.5 ERA on the season. So this is a situation, if you do like the Cubs, do you look at the first 5-inning line more? By the way, yesterday I had a free play on Wager Talk on the Cubs, minus 1.5 run line, won that 4-2. So I had no problem going against the Brewers yesterday. What are your thoughts on this one, Teddy?
So I don't know that the matchup bodes well for a first 5 for Chicago. Obviously, it's clear there are concerns about Chatwood, who threw 2 gems, including one against these Brewers, where he struck out 8 in 6 innings, only gave up 3 hits in that ball game. But last time out, there was a clear problem against Kansas City, and this line is telling us that the markets think that problem for Chatwood is likely to continue here. But and Dave, you say you don't handicap that way. I do. I mean, I'm always looking
to. Well, I factor it in. I do factor it in. It's like if my number is way off, and it's not the case here. I'm looking at the market analysis, but if my number is way off the odds, the actual odds, it's like, okay, something's going on here. I got to look at this.
Sure, and this isn't one of those spots, but where my number was way off or your number was way off. But I was saying when it comes to the starting pitching matchup versus the rest of the team. Starting pitching matchup clearly favors Milwaukee. Rest of the team, look, I mean, the Cubs lineup has been consistently hitting, but it's not just the starting pitching matchup here for Milwaukee. It's also the bullpen, and the Brewers bullpen has been. I mean, I don't think they've had a starter go past the 5th inning in any of their last 8 games. They've used that bullpen a ton, but it's an effective bullpen compared to the Cubs. So it's not just a 5-inning advantage that Milwaukee has in the pitching department. It's a full 9-inning advantage the Brewers have there, which is going to keep me off the Cubs side.
Yeah, and Tony, what about this total? Any thoughts here? We saw it open 8.5. There's a lot of 8s out there now. 8s to the over. It's dropped a little bit in some spots.
Well, you have to believe it goes back to what Dave and both of them said, and Teddy have said, and that is, was the start Chatwood had. Did he have some bad luck? Did he make some bad decisions against Kansas City free swinging lineup? And Milwaukee has a high strikeout rate. Let's just, you can look at the numbers. They strike out. They're above average in the league in strikeouts per game. Chatwood, this is a problem. I like Chatwood when the Cubs picked him up last year, and he struggled with pitching command. He's a guy who throws strikes. He depends on throwing strikes. The one caveat here, guys, is that we have a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind blowing in off Michigan today. It's cool temperature, 79, 80 degrees. So the big bats of Chicago might struggle. And if you believe in this, that some of these umpires, guys, that have enlarged their strike zone, the one guy that has is Hickox, who's behind the plate. They hit right now. It's a small sample size, but his strikeout to walk ratio is 5 to 1, which could bode well for Chatwood. So we'll see. I think 8.5. When I saw this, I thought it was the right number because of the wind and the umpire and pitching. If Chatwood would revert to the first 2 games he threw.
Yeah, right now we got 8.5s to the under and a lot of 8s to the over, and the wind blowing in is the main reason. That game goes at 8:15 Eastern, so it's not for another 6 hours. So have to keep an eye on the weather as always with Wrigley. Guys, the last featured game here, and then we'll do some quick hits. We're going to look at the Padres Diamondbacks late game tonight, 9:40 Eastern, 6:40 Pacific. Padres $1.50 road favorite. Didn't think I'd be saying that much when the season began against the Diamondbacks, Lamont and Kelly. Dave, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, at that price, it's just that price is out of sight. This is already the 3rd look the Diamondbacks have had at Lamet. That's good and bad. The good is that they should be familiar with him. The bad is that he has completely dominated them in the prior 2. But Merrill Kelly's been good for Arizona. He doesn't have the arsenal that Lamet has. I mean, he can get it up there nearly triple digits, and he's just nasty. Kelly is going to finesse you a little bit more, but he knows what he's doing out there. He's turned out to be a decent pitcher. The Diamondbacks they continue to be a team that's befuddling me a little bit because I think they're supposed to be better than they are. But, we're a good number of games in, and they really have not put together a consistent stretch yet. The Padres have been a good ball club. They gave the Dodgers all they wanted this week. They've hit the ball well. Nevertheless, I think that the market is a little overly excited about this one, and they've pushed this game to a price now where, as a value lover, if you will, when I see plus even value, I've got to take it. Unless there's something extenuating that keeps me out of it. I don't see anything of that nature here. The Diamondbacks look like a play for me at plus 140 in range. I can't resist.
Yeah, I mean, Teddy, it looks like they maybe are heating up a little bit. Granted, it was Coors Field, but they put up 32 runs in 3 games, so they are hitting the ball. They had a ton of hits in those games as well. Meanwhile, San Diego had been a good offensive team this year. It looks to me like they're cooling off a bit. 2 runs or less now in 3 of their last 4 games, and they've had a terrible bullpen all season. So, yeah, this line looks inflated to me as well. What do you think, Teddy?
Well, I mean, we can put some of the Padres' recent struggles they just played the Dodgers trade.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Both the starting pitching and the bullpen have been tremendous for the Dodgers so far this season. But I'm going to agree with Dave's assessment that at this price, the only way I can look is towards the home dog. And one thing we have to remember, while we are now a third of the way through the season, in a real year, this is the middle of April. You know what I mean? And teams are just finding their form. And what's there, 2.5 game difference in the standings between Arizona and San Diego right now? It's not like there's a huge difference between these two. I like the quotes we're seeing at Arizona. They looked energized all week at Coors Field. And Lamet's a guy who's been brilliant in his last 2 starts. He's also thrown no-nos into the 6th in each of his last 2 starts. It's really hard to repeat that level of effort in 3 straight games, especially against a lineup that you've already seen a couple times before. Yeah, Arizona or pass for this better.
Yeah, Tony, I think we all kind of agree this line looks inflated. You make it a consensus here?
No, I will. Here's why. Kelly has outpitched his peripherals. I mean, this is a guy that has 100% strand rate right now. 100% strand rate. His xFIP is twice his ERA. Last year he walked about 2 and 2.5 per 9. This year he's walking 0.5 per 9. Hey, there's regression to the mean coming to Kelly. It's inevitable. We know that because he's not a 21-year-old kid. He has a history, and while I think he's a back end starter. I think San Diego, they played LA. They've struggled a little offensively because LA's got a pretty damn good pitching staff. Not that I want to lay that price, necessarily not that I like that price, but I like San Diego here. I like Lamet.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if San Diego does regain some momentum after Teddy said they had a tough series against LA. Arizona looked good offensively, but as I said, that was in Coors Field. So I think this will be a telltale game tonight for both teams. We'll see which direction they're heading. Guys, we're going to do some quick hits. Just a reminder to the viewers out there, wagertalk.com, sportsmemo.com, free plays, best bets. I've got a free baseball play up there right now. I've won 5 of my last 6 free baseball plays. I mean, you can't make money with a free play. You're not trying. And I know Dave, Tony, and Teddy all have best bets as well. I've got a baseball best bet up there as well for tonight. Also, a reminder, NBA Tip-Off follows this show, 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll be hosting that live with Teddy and Tony. So
I'm in the studio.
Yeah, they're in the studio. They're locked in. They're not going nowhere. We're going to have them on the NBA show after this. Why not?
I'm the only one to be leaving because I know about as much about the NBA as I do about being pregnant.
Well, you make up for it with the NHL and MLB knowledge.
NHL, I'm fine with the NHL, and that's kind of the way I am. I am very much into watching and really following the sports that I handicap, and it's always been NHL ahead of NBA for me. And the beauty is, this is the beauty of no longer doing daily radio. I had to follow the NBA to some extent,
right?
Because it's a popular sport, and we would talk about it. I don't do it. I'm retired from daily radio. I haven't watched 1 minute of the NBA playoffs. Not 1 minute, okay? So it's just not my choice.
Yeah, that's what's nice about being able to specialize. You can specialize in the shows you do now on Wager Talk TV. And I'll tell you, I give another prop and another promo for another guy that specializes. I do the NASCAR show every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern with Rocky Atkinson and Andy Lang. Andy does NASCAR and golf. And he has a news show on Saturdays, UFC Live, and that'll be on again tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. It's a big pay-per-view main event. He's giving out free best bets for 4 hours plus in-game wagers for each and every fight. And just fantastic value. Once again, I mentioned the free plays on wagertalk.com. If you want some great free information for the UFC card tomorrow night, tune in here at 6 p.m. Eastern. Andy Lang will have UFC Live once again, the 3rd straight week he's done it. I cashed last week with the over 4.5 hours before he collapsed, so I added some money to my bankroll on that one. And I've got over 2.5 for the first pee break. So we got some in-game wagers going on the show itself. It's a lot of fun, though. UFC Live, 6 p.m. Eastern Saturday. And, of course, we're back first pitch tomorrow, noon edition, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, Saturday and Sunday. I'll be here with Dave. Tony will be here as well. Matt Josephs will be in the studio hosting. Guys, we'll do some quick hits here. We'll just run down the order, get as many as we can. Let's go, Dave, first. Rays and Blue Jays. Rays, $1.45 favorite over Toronto.
Bullpen game for the Rays here, but that's not a problem for them. They're used to doing that. The team is on a roll right now. I'm not a Tanner Roark fan, but I'm not really a fan of laying this price, so that'll be a pass for me.
What do you think, Teddy? 10.5, highest total on the board, I believe, other than Coors Field today.
So the money's pouring in on the over. Here's the quote from Bo Bichette. There were 11 home runs in the 2 games in Buffalo earlier in the week. Bichette, who played in Buffalo, quote, at AAA there, "I don't think this park is doing us any favors. When I was here, it wasn't necessarily a hitter's park. I think every ball we hit Wednesday would have been out anywhere." So we're seeing the markets react fairly significantly to the power that we've seen in this venue in the first two games. And yet we have a player who's playing here saying, nah, maybe not so fast. So lean under. I think 10.5 is a little bit high.
Yeah, and Tony, Dave Richardson, bullpen game, the line was minus 175, now minus 145 because of that money coming in on Toronto, or at least the line dropping. The total really has risen, though, gone from 9 to 10.5 now in that total.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, I was just saying, Dave mentioned the bullpen game. I was saying the line really has dropped.
This Richards kid has one of the best changeups in the game. And when they traded, when Tampa traded for him, they gave up some pretty good prospects. Their number 4 prospect for this kid. He struggled in Miami as a starter. They moved him to the bullpen, and he was over the top good. He's a ground ball pitcher. He's a good ground ball pitcher. So if you're correct about this, or you believe Buffalo Stadium, the ball's flying out of there, then you better like Richards over York, because Rourke, listen, when Rourke was traded last year, a couple times, he struggled, and he can't keep the ball in the park. So if all those things are accurate, we've talked about, then you probably would like Tampa Bay despite the price.
Yeah, once again, this is not the Toronto Blue Jays. Even though I said Toronto earlier, it's technically the Buffalo Blue Jays, right, this season, as they're not allowed back over the border. And if you look at their home games so far, 16 runs scored, 18 runs allowed against Miami the last 2 days, as Teddy referenced. We'll keep it going, Dave. Let's look at the next game here. The Nationals, Rourke's former team, is the next game on the board. Nationals have Strasburg on the mound, though. About a minus 165, 170 favorite over Maloney for Baltimore.
Well, naturally, Strasburg's a big favorite. It's Strasburg. I'm not going against the Orioles right now. I'm certainly not laying that kind of a price against them. I mean, this team scored a bunch of runs. The WRC plus is 119. I mean, this offense is just good right now, and Washington's isn't. Even with they've got Soto back, so they're starting to pick it up. But not interested in laying that kind of a number. And I don't want Malone.
And Teddy, you mentioned how we'd only be mid-April here. With the Nationals start 19-31 last year before they went on that run. So that'd be the first 50 games out of a 60-game season this year. And the Nationals are just 6-9 right now. So the defending world champs, they better pick things up a little sooner this year with the 60-game schedule.
Yeah. Then again, they can still find a way to squeak into the postseason. But this is Baltimore, their last 5 games. Cashing plus 160, plus 175, plus 180, plus 170, plus 180 again. I ain't laying against that team. The Strasburg-Malone matchup looks fairly one-sided. I did not play the dog.
Yeah, and Tony, what jumps out to me about the Orioles is they had that 4-game losing streak before these 5 wins. As Teddy said, they scored 1 run or less in the first 3 losses, and then they scored 7. They lost 8-7 in that next game, and they've gone 5-0 straight up as a dog since. It's really been offense this year for the Orioles.
Well, let's make it very clear. I'm not going to misrepresent myself on this show or anywhere else. I try not to. And I didn't play against Washington, but damn if I don't, I'm not tempted to. I'm telling you right now, they're struggling offensively. And what they did against New York was abysmal. I mean, you give Sanchez gets a 4-run lead in the first or the third inning, whatever it was. And this team's they're not doing anything right. I have to agree with both these guys. You can't lay against, and if you're going to lay, it better be on.
Yeah, and if you look at the Nationals' overall numbers, they're actually even worse than the averages suggest because they put up 16 runs against the Mets back on Monday. You take that 16 runs out, I mean, the numbers really get ugly. They're basically scored 2 or less, I think, in like 5 of their last 7 or something. So, yeah, buyer beware there. I would think, guys, we'll move on to the next game. These are quick hits, but if you like the Nationals, you probably have to hope for a pitching duel by Strasburg to shut down that Orioles offense. So the under could be a little bit correlated, under 9 with the Nationals on that one. Next game, Red Sox-Yankees, a big rivalry game here.
Yeah,
Not
right.
the same old Red Sox, though, Dave. Not your same old Red Sox. And we talked about favorite teams earlier. Do you still pull for them at all? They're a 300 dog almost in this one.
They pretty much have no shot here. Next. No, I'm not going to waste time talking about a mismatch.
No, I love it. I mean, that's quick hits. I mean, Teddy, it's very
Yeah.
difficult, obviously, to handicap a game when you have a minus 350 favorite. Run line, 2.5 run line. Do you even consider anything in this one?
Yeah, I would consider a Yankees run line. Look, this is not a rivalry, okay? This is a one-sided beatdown series. The Yankees swept them already in the first time they met this year. Boston wasn't in any they were in one of the games, but it was one-sided there. It's, I think, 11-1 for the Yanks the last dozen meetings. The Red Sox stinks, and the Yanks are going to win the World Series. The Yanks have their ace on the hill who's won 20 consecutive decisions. Yeah, I'll look at Yankees. I mean, when it gets into this price range, I tend to look at run lines before I'll lay this type of price just in case. And sure, there's a chance the Yankees could win here by a run. And I know that a lot of people don't like to take the home team minus 1.5. I don't have a problem taking the home team minus 1.5 if they're playing a bad bullpen like the Red Sox.
I would take a minus 2.5 before I take minus 1.5.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that.
Seriously.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that either.
Yeah, and I'm seeing actually, by the way, guys, run line minus 175, 2.5 is pick 'em is minus 115. So
I'd sacrifice the 75 cents and go minus 2.5.
right, so you're basically having to lay 2.5 to get a pick 'em price in the run line. However, Tony, I mentioned this the last few weeks when I've been on the show. The Dodgers and the Yankees, teams like the Twins as well, these explosive offensive teams have been very good moneymakers on the run line. In fact, the majority of their games, almost all the Yankee games, only 1 or 2 wins this year, I think, have been by less than 2 runs. Now, 2.5, obviously, is a little bit of a different story here. But the thing is, the
only ones that they didn't win on the run line were the ones I played on the run line. So I passed. Next.
No, I tell you what, it's hard to put too much in a 350 favor, but I think we agree. If you're going to play that from a money management perspective, 1.5 or 2.5 run lines is the only way to go. Let's look at Mets Phillies, DeGrom and Howard. DeGrom historically did not get much run support. It's changed a little bit this year, Dave. But what are your thoughts on this one?
Looks like it's a pretty good price. The Mets are pretty good sized favorites, and they ought to be. Phillies are kind of a mess right now. There's not a lot of positive. Look, the Phillies have got a good offense, but it's just not coming together for them. And the Mets actually have the better offense based on the production so far. The Mets have actually outproduced Philadelphia, and they've clearly got a better pitcher on the mound. So, that's too steep a price for me to lay on the road with the Mets. But I really don't want any part of the Phillies right now. And we're maybe finding out that it wasn't Gabe Kapler, because we know that Girardi can run a show. Maybe it's just that they have a clunky roster and they're not very good.
And Teddy, actually, I'll throw this to you. Teddy, one thing that jumped out to me is the Phillies, or the Mets, rather, about $1.85 favorite across the board offshore, but it's minus 200 in Vegas in most spots. I know some of those books have bigger juice, but Mets are a heavier favorite in Vegas by far in this one game. That's something that caught my eye.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unusual to see a modest price difference between Vegas and offshore. It's rarely universal. If you shop around offshore, you'll usually find the Vegas price. And if you shop around in Vegas, you can usually find the offshore price. But, DeGrom's been a very popular starting pitcher amongst the wise guys this year, last year, the year before. It is worth noting that A, his last time out, he had the worst outing of the season. B, he was pulled because he had a blister on his middle finger. And C, his quote is, there's a little hot spot, I guess. You could refer to it as a blister. It's starting to get a blister, but I'll file it off and hope it's better for the next one. I felt it a little bit in Atlanta. Just the way the ball is coming out is causing a little bit of a blister, but I'm still going to go out there every 5th day. If he's not right, the price isn't right. And DeGrom's telling us that he's not 100% right here, so that may be something of concern. That said, taking the Phillies requires an enormous leap of faith. They're a bad baseball team. And the quote that really stood out to me from Girardi was, quote, "You've got to fight. It's not going to get any easier." Read between the lines.
Yeah,
he doesn't like the way his team is, the energy and or any of that stuff right now. Philly's not.
You might want to consider not having McCutchen lead off. It's not 1990 or it's not 2010 or whatever. McCutchen's not a leadoff guy at this point in his career. Sorry. Put Harper the leadoff spot. You're better off. Seriously, you're better off with Harper than McCutchen in the leadoff spot.
Yeah, Tony, what are your thoughts on this game? Right now, the Phillies stand at 5-9 on the season. Mets are 9-11. Philly obviously missed several games, but they have not exactly turned things around since restarting.
Well, I looked at this game last night, and they did announce Howard as starter, right? Howard starting.
Yeah.
And this is the time of year I start looking at. In April, this is sort of the month of the year, the time of the month. I start looking at dichotomies: right-handed, left-handed. The Mets are crushing left-handed pitching. They're crushing it. Howard can't stick with the Rockies. DeGrom's on the mound. I'm on the. I can't believe the price, but you got to play the Mets or you don't play this game.
Yeah, and guys, reminder out there to all the viewers, wagertalk.com, sportsmemo.com, free best bets, free plays and best bets as always. I've got another free baseball play up there today. 5 of the last 6 have cashed free on Wager Talk. Dave's got baseball. He's got hockey as well. Teddy's got basketball and baseball, as does Tony Finn. Wagertalk.com. So we got to think about 7 games left in about 10 minutes here, guys. So we'll go about 20, 30 seconds each of you. If you have nothing, just pass, not a problem. Let's look at Indians and Tigers. Indians a $2 favorite over the Tigers right now, Dave.
Not laying that kind of a price with the Indians and their offense.
Yeah, Teddy, what do you think? It's a big number for a weak offensive team.
17 consecutive wins for Cleveland over Detroit. And don't think that the Tigers have forgotten that. That was all last year. If I have a free play up for this at SportsMemo and WagerTalk.com. It will be, you can read the full analysis, but I'm recommending a play on Detroit. I have a little bit of Tigers in my pocket.
Nice. Look at the margins in those games. Teddy, you're right. And look at the margins in those. The run lines is stupid what the run line record is in that situation as well. It's good.
Yeah, so Dave, let me throw the next one to you. We got Pittsburgh and Cincy. I mean, Pittsburgh's been a bottom feeder this season, struggled offensively. Gray has been one of the better pitchers we've talked about on the show. $1.90 favorite over Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Chad Cole looks great for the Pirates. Yeah. He really does. I mean, he's been terrific. And the Reds did hit some yesterday. The Pirates really broke out. But I think this could be a game where you get a shortage of runs early. Remember, Cole doesn't go real deep into games. He's been a relief pitcher, although it looks like he's going to stay in the rotation now. But I can see a first 5 under here.
Yeah, no, Teddy, I mentioned Pittsburgh struggled offensively. I do have to give them some credit that it looks like they're slightly turning things around. 4 overs their last 5 games. They've put up 5 runs or more in 4 of their last 5.
Yeah, and the quotes, I mean, I haven't had a single positive thing to report about Pittsburgh all year until yesterday when they bombed the Reds. And here's a quote from Josh Bell afterwards. Things are going to change starting this series. All it takes is one good game for us to turn it around. I don't disagree with that. And I certainly can't lay this type of price with a Reds team that isn't playing good baseball, even with Sonny Gray on the hill.
Yeah, no, Tony, I mean, we talk about momentum. Some of us use it more than others. But do you think maybe that's a little bit of a buy sign right now for Pittsburgh?
Maybe. I don't have much of an opinion on this game, but I'll tell you, I had to do a double take yesterday when I looked at the scoreboard and I saw what Pittsburgh had put up in the first or early in the game, and I said, "Is that a 0 or is that a 9? What is that?"
I wish it was a 0.
Yeah, right. Well, it wasn't
5 under.
Oh, and I couldn't believe it. Is Stargell back? But I pass. I let's go on.
Yeah, luckily, Dave, I actually benefited from the over in that one. So that was the only good news. So I know you missed the under there, but at least something good came out of that for one of us. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if that momentum continues for Pittsburgh. Dave, what do you think of this next game here on the board? We're looking at Kansas City and Minnesota. Minnesota about $1.80 favorite over the Royals.
Yeah, it looks like Junis has been scratched, and they're going to open with Ian Kennedy. And all I can tell you is this. The Royals swept the Twins last weekend at Kansas City. I think Minnesota remember that. They're 7-1 at home this season. The Twins should win this game.
Teddy, do you think there's any momentum for Kansas City, though they enter on 5-1 their last 6?
Yeah, they're playing good ball. But I agree with Dave's assessment. When you have a short turnaround division series where one team surprisingly swept the other one, remember the Royals were underdogs in all 3 of those games. Not huge dogs, but plus 125, plus 135, plus 140 in the 3 contests. When you have that short turnaround and then the better team gets a chance for revenge at home and the hot team scratches the pitcher who you want to support, and it's one I ended up leaving alone.
Yeah, and by the way, quick note, the Twins are starting to hit again. Yeah. They had a little bit of a hitting slump for a few games. They're getting warm again.
Yeah, Sano's hot now too, which is the bat they needed.
Their speedy center fielder's deciding to finally hit. He's healthy. So as long as he's healthy, he can stay healthy.
He doesn't have to hit. He doesn't. He saves so many runs with his defense. That guy is a great outfielder.
It's sure nice to get 2 home runs from him in a game, though. Yeah. In this game, guys, listen, when Keller is your ace and when your manager is so happy to have Keller back healthy from the COVID speaks to what you get with Kansas City. They have to score runs to win, and I'm not betting they outscore Minnesota. I pass.
And this next game, guys, I think is really fascinating to talk about. You know, Dave, you've been on top about how the Rangers ballpark was not hitter-friendly this year, the new ballpark. Well, they're in a very hitter-friendly park now at Coors Field in Colorado. What are your thoughts on this? By the way, Texas did put up 7 in 2 of their last 4 home games before this.
Yeah, and Lance Lynn's been brilliant. And Lynn is actually a type of pitcher who, with what he throws now, can succeed in Colorado because he basically throws all fastballs. He just adds and subtracts to the fastballs and doesn't throw much of it. Whatever else he throws, he basically throws as a decoy more than anything else. So he might be able to pitch reasonably well. The Rockies send Castellano to the mound, Castellini or whatever his name is, and I know he's a better pitcher now than he apparently was in AAA because he's added some stuff, but they'll figure him out. Okay, I don't know if the Rangers will figure him out, and he might be a first-time around the league guy, but eventually. This guy will get figured out.
And Teddy, what do you think? Highest total on the board, of course, with the thin air and altitude of Coors Field, a 12.5 tonight on the total.
I think it deserves to be the highest total on the board because we don't trust Castellani. We don't trust the Rangers bullpen. We don't trust the Rockies bullpen. And Lance Lynn for the season has a 25% ground ball rate. And the fly ball guys, they can sometimes survive in Coors when it's cooler, when the wind's not blowing out. But if you watched the way Coors was playing in that 3-game set earlier in the week against Arizona, where all 3 games, 15 runs or more, and I've been in Vegas long enough that when you see this Colorado when it's hot and it's dry and the runs come in bunches in Colorado, it tends to stay that way until proven otherwise. I wouldn't play the under in this game.
Yeah, this might only be the 19th game of the season for Colorado, but it's not April weather, right, Tony? It's August weather in Colorado.
I'll step in front of the Teddy bus, and I'll say, and Dave bus. Here's the deal: Lynn is a fly ball heavy pitcher. We can't discount what he's been able to do last year. And the fact that somebody actually voted for this guy in the Cy Young, we finished 3rd or 4th in the Cy Young voting, and what he's done to start this year. If you believe the regression to the mean was due with Lynn, I think it should have happened. He throws a little heavier ball than some pitchers, but Castellani was a high draft pick in 13. Listen, he has been hurt and injured because he changed his delivery. A year ago, he started working on his delivery. He's improved it, guys. He had what was the ERA was in the Pacific Coast League, it was 8 or so. 8. I backed him. Yeah, I backed him last week in Seattle, which, guys, I think it's not hard to do, even no matter what his ERA is in Seattle. I backed him in Seattle because I believe the information I got on him is that he's going to be better than he has been. Now, we'll see how good he is. I still think against Texas, you have to like him. So I like the under in this game. I like under 12.5. I may get 13 in this. I'll step in front of that.
So we have a little bit of maybe an in-show wager here, but we'll quickly go to these last 3 games, guys, with about 3 minutes to go. Interesting game here. The Seattle Mariners, of course, started 4-4. They've gone, I believe, 3-9 since then, as we expected. But the Houston Astros just 8-10. Dave, are they going to start turning things around, or are they not allowed to cheat anymore? Is that the difference?
No, they're having a World Series hangover. It was a really bad winter for the team with all that's going on. But here's a chance for them to get healthy. The Mariners are horrible. They're already minus 35 runs. They got the center fielder spectacular, and the rest of the team is awful.
Yeah, and Teddy, it opened to minus 180. It's now minus 220. So obviously, it's hard to make a case for the Mariners.
Well, I mean, the Marcus like Valdez, who's been real good, threw a gem last time out against the A's. So you can understand the money coming for Houston, but the 3-game homestand against San Fran help matters. But that's not a bullpen I can trust. If I'm taking the Astros, it can only be first 5.
Yeah, and Tony, it looks like Houston's offense is heating up at least. So they put up 17 runs in those 3 games against San Francisco at home.
Houston. Well, this kid was good last week, as Teddy said, against Oakland. Houston's not good enough, and this kid's too young. I don't care who he's pitching against. I think he had to fade Seattle. And I think you have to fade this mistake. This was a bad signing by Seattle last year. They brought him over, and he's been disappointing. But I'm not laying 220 on Houston right now. I'm just not doing it.
So we got 2 games left here, guys, with a couple minutes. Let's look at Kershaw and the Dodgers. Dave, is this the same Clayton Kershaw? He missed that initial start this year because of injury.
No, but he's still a good pitcher. He's just not what he used to be. The Angels send I'm blanking on Sandoval, who just doesn't know how to pitch yet. He's got good stuff, but he doesn't know how to pitch. And this is the wrong lineup to learn against. Dodgers should handle him.
Teddy, what's the best way to attack this? Obviously, as we mentioned with teams like the Yankees or the Dodgers, they've been much better plays on the run line than just playing them straight up.
I think the Dodgers have one run win this year or 2. I have no hesitation if you're playing the Dodgers to play them on the run line. I have no hesitation if you're looking at this game to look at the Dodgers run line and or the over because Kershaw isn't as good as he's been, and it's not like the Padres can't hit. So lean Dodgers, lean over. Or not the Padres, the Angels.
Angels, yeah. What do you think of this LA matchup, Tony?
I mean, I think the price speaks to what the odds makers with the market think of Kershaw right now. And 3 years ago, Kershaw was minus 280 here. I passed.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a slight adjustment to see him as just $1.70 favorite. Back in his heyday, it would have been a lot higher. But if it's the same Kershaw, we'll find out. Last game, guys, the other nightcap, another West Coast game, a Bay rivalry here. They had L.A. rivalry. Now we got the Bay rivalry. Hope there'll be no earthquake. But we got Oakland, San Francisco. A's, Dave, about a minus 180, 185 favorite over the Giants.
And, the A's really haven't hit much. But they're going to. That's a lineup that's pretty good. And the pitching's terrific. Montes hasn't been great, but he'll get better. This could be a rough series for the Giants. They might win one game, but if you want to take a shot on something, you may gamble on Oakland sweep proposition. It wouldn't surprise me. The A's are a way better baseball team, and Cueto's last start was a surprise, but I don't think there's a lot of those left in that tank.
Yeah, Teddy, we've been talking on the show for weeks about Oakland underachieving at least the first couple of weeks of the season. Does it look like they're turning things around now?
They're 13-6, man. They made me up. I don't know if this is underachieving. I like to see the A's play.
No, I'd say the first week or so when I was doing some of these shows with you guys.
That's frustrating. Then they won 9 in a row and then they lost 2 and then got a win. So 10-2, pretty good.
Right.
And it's still, again, this is mid-April.
Yeah.
All right. Even though it's August, it's we're less than 3 weeks into the season, really, realistically, or less than a month into the season. Cueto threw a gem last time. He threw a no-hitter into the 6th, and then Pence blew the fly ball. Quote, Johnny had the magic going, the rhythm going, had everything working. It was a special night that doesn't always come around, and you could just feel it. To spoil that feels awful. I don't think Cueto can do it again. Oakland or pass, but the price isn't right here. Montes is really being priced effectively, and I don't trust Oakland's lineup to lay a run and a half of them yet, so it's a game I'll pass.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, what jumps out to me about the A's when I said the slow start, they weren't hitting the ball. I mean, they're getting the wins, but they've actually started hitting the ball better and scoring some runs. I mean, on the season, they're only batting .216 still, but if you look at those recent results, they've been a lot more runs scored.
Explain this to me, you guys. Have you seen this? It's April. It's small sample size. A's are hitting 198 against left-handed pitching. On-base percentage, 340. OPS, 330, 738, the top half of the league, and they're hitting 198. That's against left-handed pitching. And it's almost 200 bats. It's not like they haven't faced any. And they have a winning record, and they're in first place. And I like Montos, and they're facing the right-hander. So I'll take the A's minus run line.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, their batting average isn't that good, but their runs scored, their record is solid, like you guys were saying. So I think they're for real, but we'll see. I mean, something has to kind of come back to the mean there. Hey, guys, great show. Once again, wagertalk.com, sportsmemo.com. I'm going to put it right up here on the screen for everybody. Free plays and best bets every day and right now at wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com. Programming note, I'll be back here in about 15 minutes with NBA Tip-Off Live, 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Also, a reminder this Saturday, UFC Live, Andy Lang's In Wagering Show for about 5 hours straight with the UFC main event card at 6 p.m. Eastern Saturday. And, then, of course, I'll see Dave and Tony this weekend as well with MLB First Pitch Weekend Edition, 12 noon, 9 a.m. Pacific. So, once again, next First Pitch will be tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Don't forget, that's bets and free plays. Wagertalk.com, sportsmemo.com. Great show, guys. Thanks, as always, and good luck tonight.
Yes.